So the NFL kicked off its 100th season with a rivalry as old as the sport. The Chicago Bears, versus the Green Bay Packers. The 2019 opener was a battle of defense, even though neither team had a turnover. The Bears managed to sack quarterback Aaron Rodgers 5 times and held the Packers' offense to negative yards for the first 3 drives of the game. Sound like I know what I'm talking about. Thank you, writers.
But it wasn't enough because Anne-Marie, Aaron Rodgers threw 1 touchdown in the second quarter to help the Packers to a 10-3 victory.
So here to break down last night's game and also give us a preview of this season of NFL football here on CBS is CBS NFL analyst Bill Cowher. Bill is also a former head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steelers.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
So what did you make of this game? Is this a fine way to kick off the season?
Well, I love how you stated that it was a defensive battle, which means it was 2 pretty bad offenses. I think what you saw last night. But you know what? Again, I think that's what you'll see a lot of times early in the season. The defenses certainly have an advantage because just the lack of timing that the offense requires, and a lot of these players haven't played a full game or even at all as Mitch Trubisky in the preseason. So it does take some time to kind of get into a flow, get into a rhythm, and create some kind of offensive in sync type of effect for your football team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's go around the league a bit. A lot of people are saying this could be the year for the Chiefs, KC. A lot of these, obviously, people. I mean, I'm not one of them because I can't stand the Patriots. But the Patriots are Super Bowl champions, reigning Super Bowl champions. How far do you think? Who do you like? I know it's early, but who do you like? What have you seen in training camp?
Well, I would just say this. I think you can. I look at 3 teams from each conference. I think when you look at the AFC, I think you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, as we've talked about, Patrick Mahomes, MVP last year in the National Football League. And then certainly you can't discount Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and New England Patriots. I think another team to look out for are the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, for the first time, have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, a little bit of edginess about them, a lot of distractions a year ago. And I think right now, as you watch them in the preseason, I think they look like a very focused football team. You go on the other side, you go to the NFC. I think to me, the LA Rams, they didn't lose anybody, and they've added some people like Eric Weddle, Clay Matthews. Cooper Kupp comes back to add on to that receiving core. Jared Goff taking another step. The New Orleans Saints, another team that was there like the Chiefs a year ago, 1 game short of the Super Bowl. Drew Brees is not getting any younger. And I still think you got to look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Carson Wentz, if he can stay healthy, which has been a big, that's the big thing right now with him. I think getting Josh McCown to back him up was a very, very good acquisition, I think, by the Philadelphia Eagles. Those 3 teams in the NFC, I think when you look at them, even the Bears, I know they didn't look great last night, but that defense is pretty special. So it's always fun this time of year because there's a lot of hope with everybody.
Yeah.
A little bit of the unknown, and we're going to see this kind of unfold before us, all the different storylines. So that's why I love week 1 because, we're all speculating as to how this is going to unfold, and then we kind of watch the stories play out.
Yeah.
Like every Eagles fan, I'm just going to say they're going all the way because that's what you say all the time, no matter what. Any underrated teams you think that could maybe sneak in there?
Well, there's a lot of new coaches, and you sit there and you look at it, and again, look at the Green Bay Packers last night, and I think when you look at them and, Aaron Rodgers for the first time has a new offense, and certainly who shined last night was their defense, Mike Pettin. So you look at teams like that, you look at teams like the Seattle Seahawks, who are under the radar a little bit. And as I talked about before, you even look at the AFC East when you talk at Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. Are they ready to make the next step? So you look at, to me, the storylines are some of the individuals and some of the teams and how some of the coaches can kind of maneuver their way through that. The LA Chargers were a team a year ago that came over in the playoffs, and can they kind of back that up? The Denver Broncos now retooled and get Joe Flacco comes over there, and Vic Fangio, the defensive-minded guy with a pretty good couple of good rushers, and Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. So I think you look again, it's interesting. Houston Texans, what they've done, they went out and got a left tackle. And I think there's a team to look for. Certainly with Andrew Luck stepping down, now they have become the favorites, in my mind, to win in the AFC South.
Yeah, that isn't Andrew Luck is one of the headlines, many headlines that have been generated over the past couple of weeks before the start of the season, including this thing with the Raiders and Antonio Brown. What's your take on that?
Well, I think when you're dealing with Antonio Brown, you're dealing with an irrational person. I think when Antonio's happy, he's engaging, and everybody loves him. But Antonio, at times when he's bothered, and sometimes he gets bothered by not accepting there's proper protocol, not accepting rules. He just disengages, and he's hard to communicate with. And I think from that standpoint, it's very draining for a coach. It's very draining for a football team. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out. I think he's one of those guys that you really can't count on because he can impulsively leave you at any minute. His history has proven that. And I think as a coach, what you want to have is some kind of stability. You know what I'm getting week in and week out. It can be less talent, but if I know what I'm getting, I know I can put you in a role where I know that as a team, we can achieve whatever we want to achieve. So I think at this point, we'll have to see how this plays out.
But how does it, when somebody who's clearly talented, that's why he's a spot on the team, but then gets into a fight with the GM, I mean, when does a GM and a coach and an owner say, you know what, as great as they are, not going to work for this?
Well, there's this protocol, and I think you have to respect the situation as a player. You have to respect the coach. You don't have to like him. You have to respect him. The GM's going to do what he has to do in regards to you're sitting there and he doesn't show up for a practice. You fine him. You send him the letter. That's the protocol that takes place. Now, unfortunately, he put it out there on social media, and I think that's the one thing that I've seen Antonio for the last 2 or 3 years become very irrational, not just off the field, but even on the field at times. If he doesn't get his catches, you see him on the sideline throwing water buckets. And so I look at him right now and I just wonder, where is his head mentally? And I think when you deal with an irrational person, you have to make sure that you protect yourself as a team as regard to trying to cater to one person.
And before we let you go, it's the 100th season in the NFL, but how many years have you been doing this at CBS?
So CBS is my 13th year, but
nice.
I came into the league in 1980. So I've been in the league for 40 years as a player, assistant coach, head coach, and now with CBS. So 40 of those 100 years, I've been there. So
when you put it that way, Coach.
I don't know if I just aged myself or what.
What do you get, a pin or something? I don't know.
That's great. Thank you, Coach. Good to see you again.
Great to see you guys.
You can watch Coach Cowher, of course, on NFL Today on Sundays. And a reminder, you can watch the NFL's 100th season, of course, every Sunday.
On CBS.
That's right, CBS.